Hey guys, what's up? Jin here with the Otakuology podcast with my awesome co-host, Otaku Mike.
That's me. I'm Otaku Mike.
And we like to talk about a lot of nerdy things, video games, manga, anime, movies, TV shows, you name it.
Whatever we're into, we talk about, obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
So, on this episode of the podcast, we're going to be talking about this game that Mike got me to download and play called, what's it called? I forgot.
The Manga Works.
The Manga.
The Manga Works. It's a Mangaka Simulator.
I keep wanting to call it like the manga, and then I keep forgetting the second name.
I usually call it the manga game.
It's probably what they needed to call it was the manga game.
Yeah, but it's called the Manga Works. Is the name of it.
It throws me off multiple times whenever I'm trying to talk to somebody about me playing it.
Yeah.
So
let me give you, before we get into how we found this and whatnot, let's get into the little history behind the developers of this game.
All right.
So the developers are Kerosoft, and Kerosoft are a Japanese video game developer located in Tokyo, and they were first founded in 1996. Where were you in 96? How old were you?
I was like 5.
So they are known for creating a number of different simulation games. They would create them for the iPhone. They're mostly mobile games.
Oh, okay. I was like, please don't tell me they're the farm simulator people.
No, they're mostly mobile games, but I think they do have a farm game.
I'm done.
To be exact, you want to know an interesting fact about this game developer?
Sure.
They only have 14 employees.
Oh, that's understandable.
Yeah. But
so anybody listening, if you see this game, everything in it is 8-bit. So
yeah, it's very 8-bit esque. All their games look the same. They're all the same kind of.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you see let me go back. Hold on.
So like when we first started playing it, it kind of reminded me of Gen 2 of Pokemon, because it wasn't like the old school graphics and stuff.
Yeah.
Where all the sprites and everything looked weird, and you actually had to go into the Pokédex to see what Pokemon it was.
So let me give you a list of some of the games that they've made. Okay. 8-Bit Farm is one of them. Anime Studio Stories, Basketball Stories, Fish Pond Park, Game Developer Story, Grand Prix Story, Hot Springs Story, Mega Mall Story, Ninja Village, Pocket Academy. I don't know what that is. Skyforce Unite, Social Dev Story, Tennis Club Story, The Ramen Sensei 2, a thrift store story, Wild Heart, a thrift store story.
Oh my god!
So what they make are like we said before, a bunch of different simulation-esque games. They're very, very simplistic in nature.
This is true sounding.
When I found this game, I was like, I was on my PlayStation because it's on many different systems, and I kept seeing these games pop up every Tuesday, and it was like, Ninja Village, this anime thing, manga thing, and I was like, huh, like this is kind of like the manga thing kind of interests
We
me a
cover
little bit.
manga podcast, or we cover manga on the podcast. Why not?
Yeah, I knew. I was like, oh, yeah, we cover manga on the podcast. Why not? Let's talk about. I was like, let's get this. So, for one thing, I have to say, it costs us like $15.99 to buy these games. On the PlayStation, it's $15.99. I have a bone to pick with this developer, Mr. Caro Soft Developer. On the iPhone / Android, guess how much they are?
$5.
Guess $5.
Am I right?
Yes, $5.
Oh my gosh.
$5.99 for this little game. For this little game that took up so much of my time. So, do you want to describe the day I told you about this game and like what your thoughts were about this game?
No, I
No?
don't.
Why not? Why not?
Because it's a little misleading. So, like, the background of it makes you look like there's a lot of stuff that's going to go on and all this other stuff. And while you're trying to get into it and do all this other jazz, then you're working through it and you're like, oh, okay, there's not that much stuff that's going on. You don't have to worry about too much. You're just, a lowly manga person and you got to get through your work and everything else. And, then part of it from like reading the Bakuman series is like, oh yeah, this makes sense. And then I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, so you gave me this stuff to do, and I get it. I understand it.
Yeah.
But I need you to go a little farther with your stuff that's on here.
Like explaining it?
No, I mean I understood like everything that was going on, but I really feel like some of the other stuff, like there should be like more mini games attached to it or something like that.
But
Because
go ahead.
I found myself like just getting stuck in the same rut of, oh, hey, this is that. Like I've done this already.
So tell me, what was the thought going through your head when I was like, hey, buy this game so we can play it and podcast about it and talk about our experiences playing it? What was the thought that went through your head?
The first thought that went through my head?
Yes.
I'm glad I got this for $8. Because I started playing it and I was like, I don't know how I feel about this.
It's a very simplistic game, but it's very deep as well.
Right. In some areas.
Yeah, do you want to explain like how the game begins and talk about that?
I mean, basically with that, you kind of just jump into it and you start really with it kind of explaining and describing what you're supposed to do as this person. It tries to walk you through in somewhat baby steps, but you start out doing everything by yourself.
Yeah.
And so you're like supposed to build up different stuff with it. You have to stick to a schedule. You have to make sure that you can cover all this stuff. And it kind of leads you into doing a bunch of one-shots first.
Yeah.
To kind of get in the feel for everything, developing stories and other stuff like that. Now, I think that one of the things it could have improved on in that sense is the fact of they could have given us more things along the lines of what else happened with it, like mealtime, because they did have like your energy level.
Yeah.
But it didn't account for anything else, really.
Yeah, really, because it really, like, you didn't really eat at all in the game, because there is very much like a Sims-like aspect to the game, where you have to watch your energy level, and if you end up going draining your energy level, you will end up like in the hospital, and it'll affect your game and like your manga that you're currently making sometimes, and
Right. And I think that's the drive that mine got into, really,
uh-huh.
because there were a lot of things where I was sitting there waiting, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm here, I'm waiting for this thing to happen, and then it just happens. Like, they're like, oh, hey, now on the market you can buy a new house, and now you get
Yeah.
assistance, and um, you kind of get like the weird like shrine rotation. I feel like, because you can set different stuff in your rooms, and then
Hmm.
click on one of them and say, hey, I want my character to go here, and
Yeah.
they'll actually go, and after you've kind of worshipped this item kind of on and off, it will give you more benefits in the long run.
Yeah. It'll affect your like drawing, your character development, stuff like that, time management, being better
Yeah.
at speed to produce stuff, and
Which that's some other stuff that I wish played more into it.
yeah.
Because I feel like it worked like a skill set for D&D if people like,
Uh-huh.
if everybody understands that better than what they actually refer stuff to.
Yeah.
But as far as I know, with all the stuff that I've upgraded and whatnot for my
Hmm.
character, none of that actually mattered.
I think it kind of does a little bit, like, because you do get faster at stuff, and
I was still waiting because I was like, when are you going to do this thing for me?
because I got to like the medium uh section, because what you start out with like easy stuff, and you pick like a demographic, and where do you want it set, what kind of story do you want to tell, you even get to name it, you know and then as you go
You
through this story,
you got to name your prize tool from Progressive.
you get to name your prize tool from Progressive, and you got to see how exactly um like being a manga what being a mangaka was actually like. And I thought that was really interesting aspect to the game. But it was really interesting and
I
fun.
I hated one thing about that,
What was that?
which was while if you went to the hospital or something, why all your assistants stopped working.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So I was like, why can't your people like finish? Which, I mean, the good thing was, if I ever ran my person ragged, I never had to really worry about it. But they also had it set up where you only had so many chapters that you were allowed to do as well, because I think you could only do up
Yeah,
to 30.
and the higher the different subjects, the longer it would take to complete. So you kind of had to
Yeah.
you had to level up your character and stuff like that. You got like these little energy drinks that you could drink, and different thing you would place different things around your apartment to to help you in that aspect. But I thought it was really interesting how you start out at a lower level, and you work your way up through like the competitions and stuff like that, and having to
Right.
actually submit your manga
Right.
was kind of nerve-wracking sometimes, because like, man, I feel like I got a good combination with this going on, and you would like build up your little fan base and stuff, and then you would submit this new manga after your old one ended, and depending on how well your manga did, with how long it like lasted, if I remember correctly, I could be wrong, and but trying the new demographics, because you could like focus on like just males, and like at a certain age, and then like sometimes that would hit, sometimes it wouldn't hit, sometimes you would get like more of a female audience with certain things,
Yeah,
and
which, I mean, for part of that, I actually felt like part of that was actually kind of sexist, but
yeah, why was that?
because I was kind of going along the lines of it, thinking like, some stuff they would go, okay, well, this is geared towards this, and
Yeah,
it wasn't. Like, they would say high school was geared towards, I think, more so boys.
Was it?
Yeah, but I was kind of like more things that are shojo that are more girl based are
Mm-hmm.
based
It's like
on
school.
high school stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
so some of those I felt like were a little weird,
Uh-huh.
um, but I did like how they broke out their demographics more than how we do in America.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have shonen or shojo or any of that other stuff. It would tell you this is for
It was like
little
boys.
boys.
Yeah, it was like boys, like teenagers, office men, right?
Yeah,
I think it was, and then it was like girls, teenage girls, and women. I think it was.
yeah.
If I remember correctly. Yeah, I
So I
can't
mean, there
remember.
there were some things that I did enjoy more than like what they actually are.
Uh huh.
So
Like what?
like that the
Oh, like that.
demographics were different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I found it very hard to actually get going and get into like a real groove of like I had a real struggle at the beginning of trying to uh make the manga and make it succeed, and I was kind of going off like the seat of my pants and really like just trying all these crazy different like scenarios and themes and stuff like that,
yeah,
and what I thought would work wouldn't work because you had each different publisher specifying a different thing, and you had to like raise your status, and you would get different perks depending on what manga or how well your manga did.
yeah,
But I like the aspect of eventually I did get into a groove, and I got really good at I had one manga like actually have like a really good like premise. It
yeah.
was like it was a samurai like crime manga I made.
Oh my gosh,
It was a samurai crime like manga, and I called it Boner Jam.
that's horrible. Yeah, I had some questionable titles on a bunch of mine too.
Yeah, and
Not
I ended
not
up
as not as many as you, but
I ended up like uh getting it like sent. I ended up getting it like doing really well. It ended up being like one of my most successful ones. It sold like over like 100 million titles and stuff like that, and uh like volumes or something. And I ended up even getting like I got like animation deal at one point, and uh uh like merchandising, and that you would get different perks like that. And I even got one where somebody from America wanted to license my stuff, which was pretty funny to think
right.
about, um in
Which
that
that was
aspect.
another thing that I was trying to figure out is how much of that stuff you actually had to get for, like, because at some point when you're doing stuff, your house upgrades, which I think is right
Yeah.
when you get your first like million subscribers
Yeah.
or your first million buys of your book,
Yeah.
and then after that, um, it was. Well, I mean, I still haven't figured that out after that.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out how to get to step three
Yeah.
of
So
the house part.
I ended up adding like 2 extra rooms. Like I'm still playing the game. I had like 4 or 5 assistants, and I would upgrade my assistants as well. That's one thing you can do because you have to pay your assistants as well. And I ended up getting like a big royalty thing where I would get a bunch of royalties off my manga whenever it was being published. And one thing I thought was really funny was whenever you would submit a manga to like a company and you would see them in their little box and they would be like talking about the manga, you'd be like, "Oh, this is okay. I think this could be better." Blah 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 blah. And I felt so nerve wracking when I would send off my manga and they would judge my manga even
Yeah.
though it was fake. You know,
Yeah.
I would be like, oh man, I really thought I had this one, and then like when you would accumulate all your chapters and you would send it off to get into like a tankubon. They would even do that with like your fans, and you would see
Yeah.
the fans at the bookstore reading your manga, being like, "Oh, did you see this? Did you see that chapter? This and that,
Right.
And then
Which
you would get
I thought
like,
that was pretty cool.
yeah, that was cool. I actually liked that, and you could see like the stats of your manga dip each week or go up each week, because
Yeah.
you would get you could add things like character development, crazy ideas, stuff like that, different things in your manga. You could like talk to your editor, get suggestions from your editor, stuff like that. Your editor played actually a big part in the manga development itself. So at points, because you would have to like your editor would. I don't know if you did. You get the part where your editor would come in and talk to you?
Was that the little extra benefit thing?
Yes.
No, I didn't really use my extra benefit things except for the increase whatever one that would increase like your energy.
Oh, because like your developer would come in, be like, "Hey, we need to have two new ideas for the manga," and you could pick from ideas that you had accumulated, and it would be like, character work on character development and background art would be what you needed to work on this time. You could pick what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
You could be like, have meaningful story, like have a
Oh, okay.
meaningful,
Yeah.
yeah,
I did that and I had like seven different options that I could do,
yeah,
but they were some of that stuff I didn't like care too much about,
yeah,
honestly, with some of it. Um so cuz there was times like after I finished like a big manga, I would actually like stop and do a bunch of
yeah.
one shots because that was another thing that I hated about it is during the middle of a manga, you couldn't work on anything else but that manga.
Yeah, nothing but that manga. Couldn't you go outside a little bit after you completed your manga?
No.
You couldn't. All right. Yeah, because I remember you would have to complete
No,
your
like you
manga.
could sit there and like, work around your hours and stuff that you could, but
Yeah,
I would sit there and do a bunch of one shots because during the middle of it, if you had the one shot saved, you could send them to other editors
yeah,
and nobody would ask you to do anything with it, but you could get a little more of an income pulled in.
yeah. And then they would be like, "Hey, do you have anything you could give us for a one shot?" And you would send in your one shot, and you'd be like, "Oh, this
Yeah.
actually sold well. Let's make it into a series."
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. After you were
Yeah,
working on one series, if any one shots you had built up, you could actually send that in to
yeah.
different editors, and they were like, you kind of like see them go, "Oh, well, you're already working on something, so we can't use you, but here's money for your one shot."
Yeah, and then they would, yeah, and you would get all these different things. Like, I remember them doing like interviews with like newspapers and magazines, and it was really interesting to like I kind of got a new viewpoint and understanding about like what it kind of takes to be a mangaka
Yeah,
and how hard it is. Like some of those deadlines were like crazy that I would have to like accomplish, and I would have to check a lot. There were a couple times where like my manga would get canceled cuz like I was working my mangaka character too hard and I
yeah.
would get like injured or sick with and I would go past the deadline and they would cancel my manga. And I'd be like, shit, fuck,
Oh
oh
yeah, I
man,
never had that. The only
yeah,
thing I had was when my guy was working by himself. I did have a one thing where I had him stop because if he did any more, he was going to go over the energy thing and get put in the hospital. And
hmm
they came in and go, "Hey, we need your manga." And so I clicked the thing and went, "Oh, can you come back tomorrow?" And then my guy sat there and actually finished it. I was like, "Oh, here it is."
yeah. You put it all. You did
So
like a crunch thing.
yeah, so I mean, mine never like
Yeah, at one point I had to put mine on hiatus
yeah,
because I had to get my what do they call it, PowerPoints or Power Pages or whatever they call it. She had
Yeah.
this thing called PP as well that you would use to make your manga. That was like points you would accumulate and stuff like that. Um, which you had to manage as
which
well.
which that screwed me over so bad because
Oh yeah,
in Pokemon they have a PP2, which is the amount of attacks that you have
yeah,
before your guy misses out. So it's just your
yeah.
amount that you can use these different attacks. And so
Hmm.
I kept thinking about it like that for a while, and it would throw me off because it would pop and go, "Oh, your PP is da da da." I was like,
Yeah,
"Okay, I'm good," and then I was sitting there like, "Oh wait, that's not what that is."
yeah, yeah. And I liked also the aspect of designing like my little house. Like getting little things for the house was always fun to do.
Yeah,
And like getting like better equipment and like a light box and different things and having room for my assistants. My assistants would come in. But I mean like I can just imagine like what the mangakas have to go through. Like because my mangaka hardly ever left the house that he was in.
yeah.
Occasionally you could actually have him leave and or she go to like different things and stuff like that.
Well, I got mine to the point where, like, right in the middle of the chapter, he could leave and be gone and go to the zoo like twice or something, and then come back.
Yeah. You could like
And
go to the zoo or the museum.
the only reason he was doing that was to raise his pee.
Yeah. To raise
Raise
his
his
pee
pee.
pee. To raise his
Yeah.
pee pee. How high
So
did he raise his pee pee?
pretty good. Yeah,
Yeah.
he did that because if you hit the limit, you put the max amount that you could on it.
Yeah, it was like 9. It kept growing
Yeah,
eventually.
yeah, it kept growing. But
Kept
yeah,
growing. His pee pee kept growing.
exactly.
Ugh.
So I mean, that's what it did though
Yeah.
with all its stuff.
Yeah.
And so I
Um
think I got mine up pretty well. The only bad thing
yeah.
is um, how much other stuff I had to do to make sure that my guy could keep all that stuff up.
So are you going to continue to play this game
Probably here and there.
here and there?
Yeah, I mean,
I played
I
it.
really want to know what the next house upgrade is because I know
Yeah.
you can buy separate different rooms or whatever right now,
Uh-huh.
but you can't increase your house size yet. So I
Yeah.
want to see what happens if I increase it one more time because I honestly feel like I'm getting pretty close to the end of whatever you're supposed to do or whatever's supposed to happen.
Yeah, because think I got most of the awards for the competition and stuff. I think I'm missing
Yeah,
like one or two awards. But I think you have to like be like renowned and stuff like that.
right.
Like kind of almost like a Oda or a Kataru Mira type of uh situation, or like an Osamu Tezuka.
Yeah,
Like be like you have to be like the best of the best kind of thing, and it was an interesting game to play. I
yeah,
I don't know if I would play any of the other games. Maybe the anime one.
yeah. I'm about to say that was the one you were like, "Come on, Jen, we can play that one too." I was like,
But
"No."
honestly, like I was playing it, I was like, "Oh, this is kind of cool." And then I was like the music, I would have to mute the game, uh, or turn it down really low because the music kind of got to me a little bit.
Yeah,
Because it was like this chip tune music. Like the music wasn't bad, but it would play like the same tune over and over, except when you got into a crunch time and it would go into like a really like dramatic like chip tune music. Um, but what was I gonna say?
I never listened to that, so
Oh, but
I
what
don't know what that is.
like the old NES type of music.
Yeah. Well, most of the time with anything like that, I would just turn my own music on and go from
Uh-huh.
there.
Well,
So
I ended up like muting it and stuff like that. And
yeah,
one thing I didn't know you could do which you had to tell me about, was speeding up my character to go faster, like speeding up the time and like the characters to go
Yeah.
faster. Because I was like, man, this is taking forever to to do, and you're like, oh man, I'm so far ahead, and I'm like, wait, what? You can speed it up?
Yeah, you can
He's like,
speed up your
yeah,
crunch time.
yeah. So it would make it go faster. I'm
Yeah.
interested to see, like, once you get like to the higher level difficulties, like what I can actually create. Because I just got the where I can create like the etchy, or they called it like sexy manga, I think it was called.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want, but that's like a really hard one to do apparently. So we'll have to see how to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
What did you think? Because I know, like, you haven't read very many actually manga creation mangas.
Yeah,
I know
just
you've read a little bit of
just
Bakuman,
yeah.
and when there another one that you kind of read a little bit? I thought there was one that you tried out that you asked me about.
Oh, I can't. I
Was
think it
it
was just. I think it was
was it
just
Genshiken?
Bakuman. No, Genshiken was is like a fan. It's like a fan, like a club, and then they end up going into making like their own doujinshi. Which
Okay,
Genshiken's fun. I like Genshiken, but I like the anime more than the manga.
yeah. Well, I
Like the
had that,
manga, like the
and
manga's fun.
I had that one in Dojin Works. That
Oh
were
yeah,
the
Dojin Works. Yeah,
the two that I had that were based off of some of that stuff, and they were just kind of. I mean, they were a little more eye openers, but
yeah,
I just really
yeah.
felt between reading that stuff and how some of the other stuff actually is, I felt like it was just a little misleading here and there.
Well, I mean, like Genshiken is more like if you took Big Bang Theory and put it in Japan. It's the best way I can explain it. Have you read Genshiken?
I haven't.
Do you have it?
I don't.
Okay. Well, it's kind of hard to find, so you might not want to try to get it. But yeah, it's Big Bang. It's like Big Bang Theory, but in Japan, dealing with a club that has like each one of them's kind of like a certain kind of otaku kind of, um, but they enjoy like everything like anime, manga, video games, everything like that,
Kind of like the Otakuology podcast.
kind of like the Otakuology podcast, yeah. you know. But at one point in it, they discover like the older members of the group like actually made like doujinshi comics, and eventually they end up going to like Comic Het and making their own doujinshi and stuff like that. And but they kind of veer away. It's only like one little story arc in the manga itself. It's like right in the middle of the first
Yeah.
season of Genshiken. But yeah. It's not bad. I enjoy it, but I like the anime more than the manga. Like they're both good, but I watched the manga first.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really the Manga Works game really opened my eyes, and you know how a lot of people are like, oh man, so and so just being lazy, not creating his manga, this and that, and why is so and so taking so long to get these chapters out? Well, they work themselves to the bone a lot of times.
That's true.
And I'm just like, even with like shonen, like the weekly stuff, having to pump out a chapter each week, that's crazy to think about.
Right.
And like I got a new uh what would you call it? Not point of view, insight into this world that we love, which is manga. And like I've never been one of those people where it was like, oh man, why didn't like the new One Piece chapter come out or something like that? You know, when am I gonna get the next volume of Spy X Family? You know, why is it taking so long? I've never really been one of those people,
Yeah.
but I can understand why people are like that now because they get so rabid about a particular manga and stuff like that.
Right.
But I also sympathize more with the creators of the
Right.
manga because how much pressure they're under to do something very good, you know,
That's
to be the
true.
best, you know.
Well, I mean, and then that was one of the other things that we didn't really see too much of, compared to like how you actually get to see it um, in like Bakuman, because
Yeah,
there's some TikToks that I think you and I have like exchanged more recently that we've seen some of that other stuff where
yeah.
like you have to in like a week for a weekly shonen chapter do like 20 pages unless there's something special. Sometimes you have to do more than that
I
because you
think
have
it's
to
like
complete
15 to 20,
two
25
chapters,
pages.
and some of them
15
are
to right.
colored pages, and
Yeah.
you know
Like
so
I can understand like so like I actually just found this out. Remember the slam dunk like I know we're going off kind of like a tangent, but remember the slam dunk like vagabond guy?
yeah, the same guy that did Rurouni Kenshin.
No, not that guy. That's the same guy. That's not the same guy.
No, you're right. Yeah.
So apparently like he decided to like I think he did like real as well as one of them that he did. Like he's very known for like slam dunk and vagabond.
Right.
He stopped doing manga because he hated. Oh, I think he still does manga, but he does it at his own pace now. He's not constrained to like the limitations or like the grueling deadlines of the manga industry. That's why his stuff takes so long to come out. Is
Yeah.
he he hates the whole weekly aspect of it, so that's why he's like, I do this at my own pace, you know.
Right.
Because he hated it. He hated it. He hated what it was doing to him. You know, and we see people out there who are like, who who's the Hunter Yu Yu Hakusho guy? What's his name?
Hunter X Hunter and Yu Hakusho.
Yeah, that guy. I don't remember what his name
Oh.
is. But he people rag on that guy for taking breaks all the fucking time and going on hiatus and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah.
But would ever think like why he's doing that? Why he's taking these year-long hiatuses? You know? Because it messes with their health, you know? Like but I don't think a lot of us as fans understand that, you know?
This is true.
You know, I hate to be like serious for the moment, but like I don't think that we always stop and think what these creators are actually going through and
Right.
how it affects them having to hunch over a table for 12 hours a day or whatever it is, you know, drawing, whether it's by hand or like not traditional or digital, you know, even though even if they have assistants, you know, it's still hard work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not only that, but how much they actually get paid.
True. True.
Because I think one of the things that you and I exchanged on TikTok was it was based off of the guy that did One Piece, and like at the end of it, like he made a good chunk, but you also have to subtract out like a bunch of stuff
Yeah.
and how long One Piece has been running. Like he didn't start out with that.
And the fact that, you know, they don't technically own their work.
That's
You
true
know,
too.
They don't own their IP
They
technically.
they don't they don't own them until they can basically get enough money where they can take the
Yeah.
rights back for it. And
Yeah.
that's super hard for anybody to really do anyway.
Yeah, true. Even like a lot of Marvel DC work is work for hire,
Yeah.
shit like that. You can be a creator and get like your perks and whatnot, and you get like little change here and there, but like you don't get that much. You get like royalties from sales and stuff like that. But it was just interesting to think about. In that aspect of we're not mangaka, but we played a game where we simulated being a mangaka, and we kind of went through that stuff. We
That's
went
true.
through you know being sent to the hospital, getting deadlines, having people hate your manga, and having people judge your manga, and do you let the fans control your manga and how it you know uh
Influence of what
influence it,
steered.
yeah,
Yeah.
or steers
Which
it in a different
did
direction,
you ever have any of them like that where you were influenced by what the people wanted?
No, because I kind of did my own thing.
Yeah. Well, I tried to do that too, and then I got into a rut where I was trying to actually recreate manga that we do actually have.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, what's the biggest aspects of this? You
Yeah.
know, what would this be? And so I started going in and making them, and some of them like bombed real hard.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah.
I was like, if this game's telling me that like Fire Force is not supposed to be an actual manga, or that like Card Captor Sakura is not supposed to be an actual manga, what the hell is going on then?
Yeah, like I think I did like it was like karate or fighting, and I think I did like tournament something, and then like and you can like set it in different spots, and it like fucking bombed. I
Yeah,
was like, but wait, but fighting manga is popular, you know?
right. Yeah. Well, I mean, like, and then I even thought about like some of the ones that I knew about, like, crap. I'm thinking of Mushoku Tensei, but that's not what it is. It's the one
What?
with the fighting one, uh,
That doesn't help me.
Tengumi, Tizuki.
The fighting is it like at a school?
Yeah, and they all have the little like
Tin
jade
Tin
earrings on.
Ikitosen?
Is that it?
Ikitosen, or known as Battle Vixen?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I like did that
The one
one.
where they're reincarnated as Chinese warriors?
Yeah, their spirits are.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh my
you
god.
know. And so like
Oh
I
my
would pick
god.
out like these off the wall obscure ones and do it, and they never did as well as they should have. I'm like, how did this one do so well? Like in real life, if it can't even do good, like in a simulator, basically. Like,
Yeah, I never did that, but I tried to pick things that I thought would go together, and it would like I don't know, I would just do something wrong, or I don't know, like I don't know what I would do, but it would fail. And
yeah,
you would get your fan base and stuff like that. And yeah, it was interesting to say the least.
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we were mangaka for a couple months. How about that?
Longer than that.
Yeah.
What was the last part of yours that actually popped up? Because I told you that I had a goal that I was going to try and get to, and it was either
Uh-huh.
get to the next stage of the house, the third stage of your house,
I was
or
a manga.
I was
I
going to
did it
try
for
and
like
make it. I was going to try and make it to like year 5.
I think I was at like year like 3 or 4. I think it was.
Okay.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, because I knew you were pretty close behind me, but I just doing part of that, I was like, come on, yo, like,
Well, I mean, I was trying to branch out into other demographics and stuff like that, and
I did too.
trying the harder manga.
I did too.
Yeah,
Almost all of mine I've done at least once, so it'll tell me like the demographic on it,
yeah,
because I was like, okay, well, I want to know, do these work together? And so I kind of did a little testing with my one shot stuff, and then I
hmm,
would get on a big series, and then I would go, because you'd do some, and then somebody would come with a job offer, and they'd be like, hey, can you write manga for us? And I'd be like, no, reject.
yeah,
And then I started like working on different ones, and I think the biggest amount I had was 15.
yeah,
I made 15 different manga, all different subjects, different genres and themes and everything else, and
hmm,
different combinations. And there were a couple that the people reviewed it and they go, it was good, but this is
yeah,
not one that we want. And then it would play like, I think that was the only one I heard the music on. It was like, dun, dun.
yeah. And there would be the different publishers, and
Yeah,
you get your rating for different publishers, and I can't remember if you could be under different publishers at the same time or not.
no, you could send it to different publishers, like your one shots, but you couldn't be under one
And
person
like
for your thing.
once those got rejected, you couldn't use those again.
Yeah,
Like you couldn't use that manga again.
right. And
Which
that was
yeah,
another thing. Like starting out, I was sitting there like, okay, well, my person, because I didn't know what was going to come along the
yeah,
way with it. I was like, okay, well, my person's going to have to worry about whatever. So let me write like 5 chapters first. And then
uh
I
huh,
didn't know that each one wasn't technically a chapter, it
yeah,
was a volume. So like my first 5 books that I published, I think it was a traditional shonen one. So I just called it
uh
I call it Mega Punch or something like that.
huh,
And it was volume 1, volume 2, volume 3, volume 4. And I was like, oh yeah, okay. Well, I just basically pulled like a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure where
uh huh,
I released it in like um, different sets, almost
uh huh.
all of a greater series, and I was like, oh my
Yeah.
god, hate
What
this.
what aspect I did like was I liked getting like fan mail, and I liked reading the fan mail and stuff like that. Did you get
Yeah,
fan mail?
I think I did.
I remember getting it and be like, I love reading your manga on the toilet,
Oh my god.
or you get like, oh, I liked your manga back when you started. I don't like your manga now. You know,
Oh no,
It-
none of mine were
yeah,
like that. Mine were all
yeah,
like, which I mean, I think it's because none of my stuff was really negative. So
oh,
I don't know. Most of mine was like, I think I had one letter that was like, I'm so glad that I read your stuff, and now that I'm older or whatever, my child can read it. And I was like,
uh,
and if you're doing it through the speed thing, like it took like 30 minutes and you got it. And I was like,
yeah,
20 years have already passed. What are you talking about? I've only done this for 5 years.
yeah. It was definitely an interesting game, and uh, I enjoyed it for the most part. I did have to
Yeah,
put it down a couple times. I don't think it's a terrible game,
I agree.
but I think you can fine tune it a little bit, and possibly like bring in like some like more real world aspects into the game, and let you like have more control over what you do, because it's really just
I agree.
sleep, sleep, look at your stuff, make manga. Sleep, look at your stuff, make manga. There was no
Yeah.
eating. You could
Maybe
get,
I'll go out.
yeah, maybe I'll go out to the museum or the park or take a part time job, even though you already have a job. Like
Which, oh, I hated that because at some point when you got a part time job, if you had like over 1,000 or 2,000 yen or whatever,
yeah,
you made like 1 cent.
yeah,
And I was like,
yeah,
I was sitting there at one point after I found that out, and I was like, this is bullshit. How am I going to serve tea to people and make 1 yen off of it? Like,
Yeah, or
come on. I make even less than how much the drink cost.
like possibly go into more like managing your finances and stuff like that, and going
Yeah,
more in depth into
I mean, like, it would be really cool to have like a bunch of different aspects for this.
yeah,
I would almost say make it like The Sims with a manga DLC for it,
yeah,
and just throw you into it and basically be like, okay, well, you have life to worry about now too. Oh, wait, did I also forget to tell you your occupation is a manga person? Okay,
yeah.
um,
Like I would love
handle
for
it.
them to. I would love to see them come back and do like a manga works too,
Yeah,
and maybe not in 16-bit. Maybe I get 32-bit this time.
that's true.
You know, because everybody looks like somebody from River City Ransom. If you know what that game is.
This is true.
Yeah. They're all like
Very true.
squatty and have big block heads.
Oh, yeah, and almost everybody looks the same.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
wish
it's
you
not,
got more. I wish you got more of a description too. Like there was at times like I think my brother was over here, and I'm sitting
uh-huh.
there playing this game and talking to him, and I'm like zoned out with the game, and I'm still like playing it like good.
Yeah.
And I forgot what one of my guys' names was, but I sat there and I picked out one. He had a goatee and long hair. I went, I bet that guy works for the Yakuza. Um, I don't know why he comes and like works as a manga artist, but he's got really good skill. I really like him. I hope I don't have to fire him or whatever. And then I had another guy with glasses. And I was like, he's really good too. He's a little lazy, but and my brother just looked at me and goes, "What are you doing?" I went, I'm so bored right now playing this game. I'm coming up with side stories, and and if I started doing bad, I always blamed it on like the guy with the glasses because he had
Yeah.
lower ratings than me and the other guy, and I was like, come on, Four Eyes,
Well,
you got me, you got me on the ropes.
did you level your assistants up?
I did. I leveled one of them up, and then I read something else because I tried to read like little side notes on stuff where it
Uh-huh.
would tell you like different things and some items. It was like, oh, well, you just want these items in your house, and I was like, no, I don't.
Yeah, and
Like
like every time you would level them up, it would cost you more money.
yeah,
Like you'd have to pay them more because they have more experience.
right. So
Yeah.
and then the other thing is every time you leveled up, if you leveled up a good amount, you had to pay
Uh,
them more too.
yeah, that's true. So it was a very much like a money management type of thing. And like yeah, it was
Right.
interesting. Like
But I mean,
uh,
all you had to do was make a successful manga and not go do anything outside. So,
true. Yeah. Yeah. Which even making a successful manga was really hard
right,
sometimes.
right. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, I just try to stay number one, and mine would
Well,
start out doing that.
I only had one really successful manga, and that was my Boner
Yeah.
Jam manga.
Well, I think that was one of the reasons that I got started getting really tired of it
Yeah.
is because I had multiple successful ones, and I just had an algorithm set down like, okay, well, I'm going to do this. All right, okay,
Yeah.
well, I'm going to do this. Okay, well, I'm going to do this. And, go from there. So, I
Yeah.
never like really put myself in like that much pain or anything where I had to worry about it. And if I did, I still had time to recoup from it. So,
Like I went so far down this rabbit hole. Like I was like thinking about it, and I think we actually talked about it a bunch, like over the phone, like
yeah.
what we were doing, how we were doing. Like I would sit at my work and just think about it, be like, oh, what can I do here? What can I do here? It's like, oh man, I got to stop playing this game for a while.
Yeah. You're like, oh, what is this game doing to me?
Yeah, and then my daughter would come in and she'd be like, "Are you playing that manga?" But she'd be like, "What are you playing?" Like, "Oh, I'm making manga." And she's like, "What? You're making manga?" I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
there's my guy. He's making manga." He's like, "Well, is that all you do in the game?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's all I do in the game."
Yeah, that's all I do.
Yeah,
I don't do anything else.
and she's like, "Oh, okay."
Right.
She's like, that's kind of boring. And I'm like, well, you're not wrong.
So true. So true. I'm telling you, I'd sit there and start like dancing or like working out
there
while
were
I was
there were
playing the game.
times where I would be doing it and I would just fall asleep. I would just fall asleep playing the game.
I didn't do that. But if I had a
Yeah.
little TV that I could take into the bath with me, I probably would. Probably sit
Well,
there and
now you can
click,
take it on the go because it's a
click.
mobile game.
Definitely not.
You know
Forget that.
you're gonna be spending the $5.99 to buy it.
No,
You know you
I
are.
already
Yeah.
already spent 8. I'm good.
But man, you want to wrap this up?
Heck
Uh,
yeah. Well,
everybody, let us know.
I mean, so do you feel like there was any other useful stuff besides what you learned from some of the other manga or TV shows that you've
Um,
watched?
I don't want to be a manga creator.
If I
It's
am, I
really
just want
a
to be the writer, okay?
it's really a labor of love. It seems like.
Right. Well, and then the other aspect is I feel like your guy was both the author and the writer, or
Yeah,
the writer and the artist.
yeah.
So
It was.
that could be different if there were two different people.
Yeah, true. Imagine managing two people instead of one. Oh my god.
Right.
Shit. I don't know if I could do that.
Right. So would you say, what would you rate this game? Out of
So
5?
wait. So with our last review that we did, or semi-review we did for Squid Games, a certain somebody was upset that we only went 1 to 5 for our rating system. And he was like, you need to have a 1 to 10 rating systems.
So who was this?
This was your brother.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
You know,
He's tried to bust my balls for why I do a 1 to 5 rating system, like since I started doing a 1 to 5 rating system.
you
So
know what we are gonna do from now on?
no, I'm not.
In the spirit, have you ever watched Spinal Tap?
No.
So Spinal Tap, there's this it's like a mockumentary for like a rock band.
Okay.
And there's this one famous scene in it, and they're talking about their amplifiers, the volume of their amplifiers.
Right.
And they're like, these go up to 11.
Oh my god.
And so we will have 1 being the worst, 11 being the best.
I don't even think I can do that.
We'll do that. I mean, nobody else has complained about our 1 to 5 scale.
That's because that's what everybody does.
You know, like I got that from like X Play or like extended play for the video game show.
Well, like I started doing it because I've always done 1 to 5 based off of because if you do 10, then it's obviously a 50-50 split. Right?
Yeah.
Well, if you do 1 to 5, if I say something's a 3, technically a 3 is still a positive.
Yeah.
Versus a 1 and a 2.
Yeah.
So, you could say, okay, well, it's down the middle line, but technically it's still good.
Yeah.
While if we do a 10, anything 5 or below is horrible because that's the halfway point.
So do you want to continue with our 1 to 5 scale?
Let's go with our 1 to 5 scale, but just for this one, we will do our 1 to 5 and we'll do this 1 to 11. Just this once to appease my goddamn brother. So,
well, he hasn't even listened to the fucking podcast anyway, so
he's going to now. We'll link below somewhere, some way. We'll see if we can give you his Twitter handle, guys that listen to this, or his Instagram.
We're gonna and then we're gonna end up doxing him. So just letting you guys know, we'll give you his personal information.
we'll we'll give you an Instagram or a Twitter, and you guys tell him how wrong he is. Okay,
Just saying, he won't even support his own brother and listen to his brother's podcast.
that's
Just
true.
saying.
Oh, can I tell you something funny as a side note for the end of this
Okay,
one?
okay.
So like I did Tinder for a little while at the beginning
Uh
of the
huh.
year,
Uh huh.
right? And so I
Yeah.
had somebody, and I don't know how it happened because I've never given my number out.
Uh huh.
I might have given it to like one person, third party, like we went to Snapchat or something, or
Yeah.
Facebook or something like that, and then I gave him my phone number.
Yeah.
I've only given my phone number out if I did to one person.
Uh huh.
And the other day he texts me and sends me all this stuff. He's like, "What the fuck? Wait, what is this?" And he sends me a text message from a girl saying, "Hey, we talked on Tinder and everything. Are you da da da? Would you like to meet up and everything?" He's like, "Why did you give out my number?" I go, "I don't know how your number got out. I haven't even given my number out. How did yours get out?" So
Did
he
he
was
respond?
no,
Did he?
he was like, "I'm just gonna ignore this shit."
He
I
should
went,
have
"Well, if
swooped.
you want me to, I'll handle this." He
He
goes,
should
"No,
have.
I'm just not gonna respond."
He should have swooped in and be like, "Hey, do you
I
like
I,
chocolate?"
I told him you should have been like, "Hey, have them send you a face pic," because I said I don't know names, so I said maybe faces. Get them to send you a picture of their face, and I'll tell you if I actually talked to him or not.
What was it like? What was it like when we were playing Fortnite a couple months ago? And I walked outside to the living room, and Kathleen was like, "Hey, this guy knows you. He's playing Fortnite with us." And I'm like, "What? Who? This guy knows me?" And then
Oh,
and then
yeah.
and then I get on, and he's like, "Hey, Mike, how's it going?" I take off the headset and I mute it, and I'm like, "I don't know who the fuck this is."
Who is this?
I'm like,
Oh
I'm trying
man,
to,
I remember that. Then I
and I'm
got
just,
I got repeated text messages. It was like, I'm trying to win this match real quick. Jen, who's that? Uh, Damascio J. What? And then we were like, "Oh wait, I see the name. I see the name now. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense." And when you went, "That makes sense," I was like, "That's pretty funny
yeah.
that you knew." After I was like, I said like two words, and you're like, "Yeah, I know that. I get that now. The name makes sense for them. The
Because I
gamer
don't
tag."
I don't normally like give out my gamer tag to people,
Yeah.
like, and I don't, I guess I just forgot about it or something, and I was just trying to think, oh my god, who the fuck this is? Is this somebody who doesn't like me? I don't know who this is. You
Yeah.
know, I was like, oh my god, but yeah. Anyways, back into the rating of the game. So I would, if we're using our normal rating system, I would give it a 3.5 out of 5.
I would
It's
give it a 3.
it's not terrible. I had fun with it.
I would give it a 3 towards the positive side.
Uh huh.
It wasn't the best,
It's not the
but
best,
it
no.
was it was pretty fun. I mean, it if it was a cell phone game, I would probably enjoy it a little more because there's a lot of monotonous shit that you have to do throughout the day.
Well, it is a cell phone game.
And this would just but we played it on the PlayStation, so
That's true. That's
you
true.
know, maybe if I was busy, because I
Uh
think the
huh.
day besides when I started it and the day when my brother came over and I made the little fucking side stories for the characters, I
Yeah.
think that was probably the most fun I had with it.
Yeah.
Every other thing, I was like, God, can I just get this third house? Because then I'm just gonna quit. That's it. That's all I really wanted.
Yeah.
So I mean, I would say a 3.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, under
It,
under those circumstances.
it's an average game. It's not
But
terrible.
but if we had to go off of an 11, I would have to shoot it down at a 5.
I would put it at a 3.
It gets even lower if it's on a scale of 11. Shit. just because it's a scale 1 to 5, it gets blessed a little more on that scale.
It gets knocked down a point because I had to spend $15 on this game.
It gets knocked down a point on the 11 scale because you had to deal with my brother bitching about it. I had to bitch about your rating system, so the one we actually use it on, it got knocked down a peg too.
I mean, he doesn't even listen.
That's true. I've only got him to listen to like 2. So, anyway.
You can't complain if you don't listen.
Right. Anyway, bro, if you make it this far into this episode of the podcast, God bless you. You asshole.
We hope you have a wonderful day.
What's the thing that Jason says?
I hope you get syphilis and die.
Yeah. There you go.
I hope you get fucked. I hope you get fucked in the dick hole.
What if Jason listens to this and gets this far?
Oh, I don't think Jason listens to our podcast.
Okay, well, if Jason or my brother make it this far, y'all are welcome. Shout out to both of you on the podcast.
We hope you get syphilis. Get syphilis in your dick hole.
Oh my God, and die.
Die.
As always, though, guys, thanks for listening. Me and Mike had a lot of fun. I don't know how we made this one an hour because I was let's just make it 25 and we'll cut it. And we just kept going. I was like, yes, we powered through it.
I mean, I'm okay with having a 30-minute podcast, but it is what it is,
Right. But anyway, as always, guys, like with the podcast, listen, find us where you can find us because we're on all major
podcast platforms. Yeah.
Check out our new Pokemon show. Yeah. Check out our new Pokemon show if you haven't. Check out all of our other shows, And
we now have a dedicated YouTube channel for the Pokemon show as well.
Right.
If you just want to watch those Pokemon videos, I want to download the podcast. We have another channel for our Otakuology podcast as well. But I think we might be putting some exclusive, like Playing Trains and Comic Books does. Put some exclusive content on our Pokemon channel for Pokemon stuff.
Yeah, maybe we should make a Patreon for that.
Shout out to Planes, Trains, and Comic Books.
Right.
For being our podcast friends.
Right. Yeah. Or podcast brothers.
They shouted us out in their last podcast, which was really good.
They did? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so they're doing, for Halloween, they're doing Jason comics, and they're talking about each week, they're talking about 2 different Jason comics. It's pretty funny.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for more, though, guys. We will catch you later. As always, we'll see you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.
Bye.